Hello, and welcome to another video from 3.5 Archive. Today we're going to be looking at the top 10 domain feats from D&D 3.5. Domain feats, sometimes called devotion feats, as most of the feats are named something like air devotion or trickery devotion or the like, were introduced in the Complete Champion sourcebook. Each of them was linked to a particular domain, and while they did not have prerequisites, they did suggest the Dungeon Master limit them to characters who either had that domain as a cleric, or demonstrated some sort of actual devotion to that domain's theme. You could never have more than two of them, and you could only ever have more than one if the two fit together thematically. Each feat granted a once-per-day ability, save for one of the feats which granted an at-will ability you could use as much as you wanted. And for the once-per-day abilities, you could gain more uses of them, either by taking the feat again, or by using your Turn or Rebuke Undead attempts if you had cleric levels, in order to power additional uses of the feat. Some of these feats gave relatively lackluster abilities, while others were incredibly powerful. The flexibility of these feats made them extremely attractive options, and were a great way to add identity to a character, or give a divine touch to an otherwise non-divine character. So with that, let's take a look at the 10 best domain feats. First though, we're going to look at an honorable mention, the Trickery Devotion feat. This feat lets you create a duplicate of yourself once per day as a standard action. It lasts up to 1 minute per level. It has a few hit points and acts like a combination of the Silent Image and Unseen Servant spells. It can perform skill checks, which makes this nice for a rogue who wants to use it to disable device checks without the rogue having to be in harm's way himself. A rogue cleric who could use turn attempts to power more uses of this ability could be quite excellent at keeping himself alive in a trap-heavy dungeon. Still, this is an edge case. It's going to be pretty limited to those rarer circumstances and really only for particular types of characters, so while strong, it's going to leave it as an honorable mention on our list. Now to the actual list itself. At number 10 we have Air Devotion. This is a more selfish version of the Protection Devotion feat we'll see later. As a swift action, you give yourself a +1 Sacred or Profane bonus to armor class for 1 minute, which improves by 1 for every 4 character levels you have. It also gives range attacks against you a 50% mischance. Most monsters you fight are going to be attacking you in melee, but some will have range attacks, and this mischance is going to apply to all of them, be it an arrow demon's arrows or a hill giant's throwing boulders. Also, you can choose to activate it in those situations where you're facing down range attackers, so this will make it a little bit less situational than otherwise would be. While the bonus to armor class is a bit less than that of Protection Domain and it only applies to yourself, it is still a good feat to have, especially if you are a cleric and you won't be running into a lot of undead or earth creatures. At number 9 we have Sun Devotion. This feat allows you to, once per day as a swift action, imbue one weapon you're holding with the energy of true sunlight, which it glows with in a 10-foot radius, and deals extra sacred damage equal to your character level to any undead that you strike. And you can put out more uses of this with your turn undead attempts. This is a great way to empower your weapon and deal more damage in combat. It's great against undead that you wouldn't be able to turn. It only applies to melee weapons, so you can't attack cowering undead you've already turned, but by level 6 you're doing enough damage to effectively remove 1 extra hit die worth of undead per round. And by level 12 with 2 attacks, it could be as much as 4. Turning undead is still going to be more effective as crowd control, so to speak, incapacitating undead so that your allies can finish them off with range attacks. But for a fighter cleric multiclass or another type of character, this could be a great way for some extra damage to undead. Paladins can make use of this as well. And we can't ignore the true sunlight effect, which would allow you to put a vampire into real trouble, staggering them automatically on the first round they're in range, and then killing them in the second if they don't move away. Vampires are fairly rare, but against them, this ability is one of the most devastating that a character can have. Overall, this feat is a little bit less strong than Turning Undead, and it's only going to be useful against undead, and particularly against vampires, but the former are at least common enough to earn this feat a spot at number 9 on our list. At number 8 we have Chaos Devotion. This feat lets you, once per day as a swift action, roll 1d6. Each round, if the roll is odd, you add it as a bonus to your attack rolls until your next action. If it's even, you add it as a sacred or profane bonus to your armor class. And again, you re-roll the die each turn, so it's going to change, hence the chaos, and this effect is going to last for 1 minute. At 10th level, the die is going to become a d8, and at level 15, it's going to become a d10. Sadly, you never get to use the often neglected d12 with this feat. Still, while this feat is unpredictable, it's going to be giving you value every single turn, whether a defensive bonus or an aggressive bonus. It's certainly a fun mechanic, although it could get tiresome to remember for some. Either way, it can be a useful buff to your numbers as a cleric, and it's a decent option for a lower level cleric of a chaos deity. For a non-cleric character and at higher levels, this feat's going to fall behind quite a bit, thus it's placed at number 8 on this list. At number 7, we have Healing Devotion. This allows you to gain fast healing 1 once per day. The fast healing improves by 1 for every 5 character levels you have, to a maximum of fast healing 5 at level 20. It lasts for 1 minute, and it begins automatically if you are reduced to 0 hit points or less, so long as you aren't killed outright. This feat can be fantastic for your character's survival, and it will give you anywhere from 10 to 50 extra hit points to work with. On a cleric, you can make more use of this ability to use it on another creature as a full round action, giving them fast healing and allowing your turn undead attempts to keep your party from death. This won't be any good for in-combat healing, and thus it can often be replaced by an extra wand of Cure Light Wounds, but this doesn't use up any gold. Its life-saving abilities will grow less and less important at higher levels as you are more and more often killed outright by escalating amounts of damage, but it's going to be a nice bit of extra healing for your group in between battles, and it can prolong the endurance of your party in a dungeon. A high-level cleric with this feat, an average charisma for an elite array cleric, and a maxed out cloak of charisma, extra turning and such, will be able to dole out an extra 550 hit points per day to his group. That's nothing to turn your nose up at, and although the healing is slow, it's still going to earn this feat place at number 7 on our list. At number 6, we have the Destruction Devotion feat. This feat allows you to, once per day as an immediate action, give yourself the ability to reduce your opponent's armor for 1 minute. Each melee hit you score reduces your target's natural or manufactured armor bonus by 1. If your target has both of these, they choose which one is reduced. This reduction is going to last for 1 minute, and as with other feats that you can gain more uses of, by exhausting cleric turn undead attempts, you can do this here as well. And this is a great way for cleric's melee attacks, which usually don't deal nearly as much damage as the fighters, to still have a significant effect on the battle. Clerics with 2-weapon fighting are quite rare, but if you are able to get the accuracy for it, you could use this feat to be dropping your opponent's armor class in every combat encounter. Even for a fighter, this ability can be nice. A good comparison is the Distracting Attack feat from the Miniatures Handbook, which gives all other creatures +1 to hit a creature that you hit in melee until the start of your next turn. So you hit a creature, all your allies get +1 to hit them. This feat would always be on, so to speak, but it also doesn't stack like Destruction Devotion does. Even with a 1-level dip in Cleric and a decent charisma, you can take this feat into every single fight as a ranger, fighter, or rogue, and make significant use of 2-weapon fighting to make enemies extremely easy for your party to hit, bringing difficult armor classes into easier reach, or simply allowing other party members to sink a few more points of attack bonus into power attack. At number 5, we have Animal Devotion. This feat can be activated once per day as a swift action, and lets you choose from one of 4 animal aspects, each of which lasts for 1 minute. Ape's Fury gives you +2 strength, +2 more strength per 6 levels, up to a maximum of +8. Cheetah Sprint gives you +5 feet of move speed, +5 more per 4 levels. Hawk's Fight gives you the Overland Flight spell effectively, with scaling bonuses to your fly speed by level. And lastly, Serpent Strike gives you a bite attack for 1d3 constitution damage, with a charisma-based save DC. This feat does a lot of work, giving you flight when needed, extra speed to chase down a fleeing foe, a strength buff that can stack with your belt of strength, and a poison ability that could be useful in some cases. The poison ability is likely the least useful, really, due to the various weaknesses of poison in D&D 3.5, and the cheetah speed will not be pivotable too often, but Hawk's Flight can be useful for bypassing all manner of obstacles, and Ape's Fury is always nice to have. This is one of the devotion feats that is most excellent for a non-cleric character to take. Having essentially an extra rage can be great for a barbarian, and this is a great and flavorful feat for a barbarian or ranger who wishes to be more in touch with the animal spirits, while also getting some nice abilities that can come in clutch in a variety of situations. It can also stack with your bonuses from rage, which can allow a barbarian character with a belt of strength and raging to achieve some truly prodigious strength scores. Perhaps not as much as a bear warrior or other type of character, but still pretty high, especially for investment of just 1 feat. At number 4, we have Water Devotion. This feat allows you to summon a water elemental once per day as a standard action. This is already an improvement on summoning with Summon Monster, which takes a full round to cast. The elemental ranges from small to huge depending on what level you are, improving to medium at level 6, large at level 11, and huge at level 16. This is pretty narrow, and part of the strength of summon monster spells are their flexibility, but it can be worth the trade-off to be able to summon this in combat in a pinch. More often than not, you're going to prefer summoning a creature before combat where you can throw on a few buffs before sending it in, but this can still be useful as a backup plan, and for a cleric that can power out more uses of this ability with turning attempts, you're going to effectively have a water elemental companion. At number 3, we have Travel Devotion. This gives you a once per day ability to move up to your speed as a swift action for 1 minute. You can't take a 5-foot step in the same round you use this ability, but that's alright. This feat's great for mobility, but where it really shines is for scouts. This allows them to move far enough to trigger their skirmish ability, while then unleashing a full attack. While multi-classing into Lion Totem Barbarian can give you access to Pounce, no such option exists for range attackers, which many scouts prefer to be. A scout can easily outdamage a fighter in archery when using this feat, at higher levels especially. And a Travel Devotion scout is a great option for a ranged character. 1 level of cleric can give your scout extra uses of this ability, allowing you to be a walking fusillade of arrows for every encounter you have, so long as you have at least an average charisma. The enormous game changer that this feat provides for members of the scout class is enough to earn it the number 3 spot on our list. It's really almost mandatory for scout characters. At number 2, we have Knowledge Devotion. This feat requires 5 ranks in any knowledge skill. It allows you to make a knowledge check when you fight a monster, and get bonuses to attack and damage against that monster depending on how high you roll. No matter what you roll, you still get a +1 to hit and damage. It does not count as precision damage, meaning it is effective in many cases where other types of bonus damage are negated. And you can reasonably expect to be getting +2 to +3 to hit every combat. You can also take the Collector's Story skill trick from Complete Scoundrel in order to give you +5 on such a check. Some Dungeon Masters will not allow this bonus to apply, but some will. Rules as written, it's really up to debate. But even without that skill trick, a character who invests into knowledge skills can be much more formidable in combat. Unfortunately, the kind of classes that benefit most from this are the ones with the fewest access to knowledge skills. But Rangers, Rogues, perhaps Duskblades, and so on can gain some use from this feat. And unlike most of the other devotion feats, you can use this one in every single combat encounter, as opposed to being limited to once per day. And at number 1, we have Protection Devotion. I spoiled it a little bit earlier, really, if you were paying close attention. This feat allows you to, once per day, as an immediate action, give a +2 Sacred or Profane bonus to armor class for 1 minute, to yourself as well as to every ally within 30 feet of you. You get another +1 for every 4 levels you have, so +3 at level 4, +4 at level 8, up to +7 at level 20. This can also be given additional uses by turning undead, as per the others. This is a great feat. Sacred bonuses are pretty rare, so they stack with almost anything. And at high levels, +7 armor class is nothing to scoff at when stacking buffs. While armor class is less and less effective as levels go on, this is still a significant benefit. And while it is once per day normally, clerics can easily keep it going every single combat encounter if you're not encountering a lot of undead. So this is one of the better high-level options for buffing armor class, and given the amount of value you get from giving your entire party such a significant boost, it's enough to earn it the number 1 spot on this list. So that'll be it for our top 10 domain feats in D&D 3.5. Please like, share, comment, subscribe, etc. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time here on 3.5 Archive.